Powered by Riverside FM.
Welcome to another edition of Unconventional Playbook. Please hit that like and subscribe button, and please consider becoming a member. The offseason is barely getting started. Like, we have really just scratched the surface in terms of the Minnesota Vikings and what they're going to do. And this is a fun time of year to be a Vikings fan. This is the first time where we're going into a season where we have a future franchise quarterback in terms of J.J. McCarthy. And this is one of the few times that we've had a plethora of money to spend during the offseason, roughly about $70 million to improve our team. So there's a lot of different avenues, a lot of different roads that the Minnesota Vikings can go down to improve their football team. And you're starting to hear a lot of the rumors and things come about. You know, it's just remarkable that when I hear places like ESPN, it's like early on in this whole process that ESPN was reporting everybody was going to play quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings except for J.J. McCarthy. So for me, I've always been the type of person where I don't really believe in conspiracy theories at all. But the one thing I do believe in is that the national media, really, especially ESPN and those guys really don't care about mid-market teams, low-market teams. You know, they always want to see teams in Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, those type of places do really well. So any trade or any rumor that can benefit those franchises, ESPN is all over. And anything that benefits some of the low-market or mid-market teams, they're not. So the one thing that I noticed about all of these Fox, ESPN, all of these places is that anything but J.J. McCarthy was good for the Minnesota Vikings. So it just kind of leads me to believe, like, these guys aren't dumb. It just leads me to believe that J.J. McCarthy must be pretty damn good. Because when you open your eyes to everything. I mean, they were talking about Aaron Rodgers. They were talking about bringing Sam Darnold back. Hell, I even heard stuff about Justin Fields coming to the Minnesota Vikings. Every single thing except for it's J.J. McCarthy's time. And essentially, that's what it is. It's J.J. McCarthy's time. Like, I don't want anything to disrupt J.J. McCarthy being the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings coming up 2025 season. I don't care if Sam Darnold came back on a $5 million contract. I don't want anybody. I don't want a quarterback competition. I want J.J. McCarthy to be at the helm for the Minnesota Vikings to start the season. And anything that disrupts that, I'm not for. And I'm telling you, looking at the small sample size, these guys do their research. They do their homework. It's almost like they don't want J.J. McCarthy to be the quarterback of the Vikings. So you have to ask yourself, why? And I believe the kid is going to be box office. We're not going to trade him to the Raiders, to Pete Carroll. We're not going to trade him to the Cleveland Browns. He is going to be the quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings. So accept it, ESPN and all these national people. J.J. McCarthy's going to be our quarterback. The whole contract situation with Quasi Adolfo Mensah is strange. Now, I do believe that Quasi is going to sign his contract. I don't think this is a big deal. But what I do think is a little strange is why Quasi has not been signed yet. What are the Wilfs waiting for? Is it the draft? Is it after the free agency period? You see, what a lot of people don't know is when you sign these contracts, KOC just signed his contract. Sometimes when it comes to news media outlets where they announce these things, they want these things to kind of stand by themselves. And I don't know if that's the case with Quasi. Like, I do think this thing will get done before training camp. But maybe the Wilfs are looking to see what he does in the draft. His drafts have not been very good. We can say that about Quasi. His free agency, in terms of being able to sign people, the level of talent that he's been able to bring in has been stellar. But his draft picks leave a lot to be desired. So is this what the Wilfs waiting for? I thought it was really peculiar that Quasi had an illness this past week at the Combine. KOC ran all the meetings. Now, I don't believe that there's anything to that. People were saying, well, he did a press conference on Tuesday. He didn't look sick. Man, I've had this flu, and that stuff comes on quick. So that really doesn't mean anything because he looked really good on Tuesday. And he wasn't there on Wednesday. So there should be something suspicious about that. Like, I don't believe that. But I do believe that there is some hesitation. I do think Quasi will get signed. It would just be intriguing to know what the hesitation really is with Quasi. Because I do believe he should be re-signed. I think he and KOC are in lockstep. Have they probably disagreed on some things? Yeah, I remember the Kirk Cousins press conference after they let him go. KOC did not look very happy, but ultimately it was the right decision when you look back on it. So that's going to be interesting to see, man, how this plays out when Quasi gets his contract. The Minnesota Vikings, they've got a decision to make with Byron Murphy. One of the highly touted cornerbacks that's out there in free agency is going to demand probably over $20 million. I can say this right now. Byron Murphy had a great season last year, man. I'm not paying Byron Murphy $20 million. I don't care how thin our room is, especially when you look at a guy that his first year with the Vikings really didn't do much. B-Flow comes in. He has a great year last year, but I'm not paying him $20 million off of 1 year. I'm not getting into bed with that, man. These are how bad contracts are created. These guys have these breakout years, and Byron Murphy is still relatively young. But I'm not sure he's worth about $20 million, which he's going to demand. I mean, the guy in the league, Jalen Ramsey, is going to get about $25 to $27 million. He's at the top of the food chain when it comes to cornerbacks, and he's aging a little bit. He's getting long in the tooth. I just don't see Byron Murphy at that caliber of $20 million. But I know, looking at the season and looking at what the market says, you're going to have to pay him that. And if I'm the Minnesota Vikings, I'm just not doing it. I'm wary of that contract. Now, if he comes back at a reasonable price, I'm all over it. If he wants to come back for about 15 to 17, I'm all over it. But I think the market is going to dictate that he's probably going to get a little bit more than that. And if I'm the Minnesota Vikings, I just stay away from that. Then you look at Cam Beasley. It's like, from what I heard from other content creators and what I heard from people that cover the Minnesota Vikings, is that you can't lose both of them, Murph and Cam Beasley. Bynum, I love Bynum. But again, man, I'm not going to outprice myself for these guys. These guys have had great years last year. They had a great year. Both of them, Murph, Cam Bynum. But I do think somewhat they're a product of B-Flow and his scheme. Is what you're seeing what you're really seeing from these guys? And I'm not trying to throw any shade, but I do think them being part of the system is why they looked so good last year under B-Flow's system. And so you have to worry. It's almost like on the offensive side of the ball. Is Sam Darnold really Sam Darnold? Outside of when he gets away from KOC, wherever he goes next year, will he be the same quarterback? I don't know if Murph and Cam Beasley will be the same D-backs elsewhere, outside of this scheme. So I just think the Minnesota Vikings, with those two guys, when you have that amount of salary cap, you've got to be careful in where you spend your money. Obviously, the trenches is number one. The trenches are most important. But this is a time where you're trying to build around J.J. McCarthy and his rookie contract. So you just can't make mistakes. You can't be pressured into situations where you look at 1 year and you try to bring back guys at a price that's a little bit too much. Byron Murphy deserves his money. Cam Beasley deserves his money. I just don't know if it's with the Minnesota Vikings if they're trying to break the bank. If I'm the Minnesota Vikings, I'm being very wary of that. This has been Unconventional Playbook. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Please consider becoming a member. Those that become members will be entered into a drawing to win a Winter Warriors Minnesota Vikings jersey. This has been the UP Unconventional Playbook. We will see ya when we see ya.